HR issues can kill you. One complaint against your company can turn your world upside down. And you spend way too much time dealing with HR when you should be spending your time on making a profit. You should talk to Bambi. With Bambi, get access to your own dedicated US-based HR manager starting at just $99 per month. They get to know you and your business while providing HR expertise and the personal touch you need and want. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations run smoothly. Team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations. And with Bambi's HR Autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 a year, but Bambi starts at $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambi can take off your plate. Go to Bambi.com right now and type in Accelerate under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Spelled BAM, BEE.com. Bambi.com. Type in Accelerate. Welcome to Accelerate Your Business Growth, where we're exploring all sorts of business topics. Experts from around the world join me, your host, Diane Helbig, for a conversation where they share their expertise with all of you. Take what you need when you need it. Featured on Inc.com, Forbes, and MSNBC's Your Business, this podcast is recognized as one of the best podcasts for small business, sales, leadership, social media, and more. When it comes to business, Accelerate Your Business Growth has got it covered. And now on with the show. My guest today is Emanuel Rose. Emanuel was raised on the West Coast of the United States. He spent over 3 decades earning a reputation in cutting-edge marketing. As an author and expert in the field, Emanuel specializes in direct response advertising and content marketing at his digital agency, Strategic E-Marketing. His passion lies in helping companies achieve business success with authentic storytelling. Emanuel's unique approach to marketing strategies has resulted in countless clients reaching their goals. Thanks so much for joining me today, Emanuel.
Thank you, Diane. I'm really excited to have a conversation with you.
I'm excited to have this conversation as well. And there's something that I am tremendously curious about. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask you. And it is about Gen Z. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Everyone's right. Everyone's curious about Gen Z. I'm curious, in your opinion, what sets them apart from previous generations when it comes to marketing and their expectations and preferences?
Wow, there's so many things. The biggest thing that it's hard for people, my age, which I'm Gen X, I'm 53 right now, is to understand that they grew up from day one with the internet and with basically a smartphone in their hand, and so their attachment to digital and online information and messaging and socializing is part of their shared ontogeny, shared of their shared history. And it's completely different than what happened when we were growing up.
Yeah. All right. So when it comes to social media, then how does a small business connect with Gen Z? And let's talk about authenticity for a minute, because I have a feeling that's pretty important to that generation. Is that fair?
Absolutely. They're able to sniff out any kind of washing, greenwashing or race washing or anything that's just created by the marketing department to look the part. They sniff that out instantly.
Okay, great. I thought so. So what does a business do? Like, how should they be playing on social media so that they are highlighting their business from an authentic standpoint?
I try to keep it as duct tape simple as possible, Diane. And really what I recommend is that you just literally go through the list of donations that you made or the groups that your staff or your people go and support with their time or their money, and start there, and use those examples of how your company's contributing, and build out content around why those things are important, and how you're supporting them, and that does a lot as far as beginning the process of kind of pulling back the curtain, so to speak.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, so you're connecting with them on a level of the things that they value as well.
Absolutely. There's a couple things about the psychographics of this group of people, and how they're wired. The biggest thing in the U.S. is that this is the biggest cohort of racially mixed people that are a part of our country. So almost 50% are mixed race. So because of that, that's why the social justice and those things are so important to them. Like most people growing up under 25, they're also, very concerned about the environment and inequality around the environment. So, just like a lot of us were when we were younger kids, and so, they're 26 and younger. So in that respect, they're really still forming. But we have to approach their need for equality and justice and awareness of nature, and look and see what we're doing already, and then tell those stories.
All right, so you just said something so interesting that I hadn't really thought about, which is that they're young, and so they're growing, they're evolving, they're changing. What do brands need to do to keep up with that?
One thing is they need to continue to develop A/B messaging, right? There's not just one campaign, but there's two campaigns, and then the data will show what you're doing that's working the best. That's one thing for sure.
Okay.
And that is closely tied into product development and new offers. And so, for instance, one of the clients I work with is a health club chain in Oregon, and we were having the conversation, the CEO and I, about a program that was not working, even though we're running a campaign that has been successful in the past for other programs. And and the reality was they're trying to push a program that was given to them by the equipment manufacturer versus what the marketplace is interested in. So in this part of Oregon right now, that cohort is interested in weightlifting. Like, that's the thing that's coming back. And so, I told the CEO, I said, we could spend as much money as you want on this program from the manufacturer, but I'll tell you, it will never be successful because it's engineering driven. But let's do something that's new and, well, quote unquote new to them. And that's around weightlifting and nutrition. That's what the interest is. So that's part of the thinking that I go through.
Right. I get it. Well, you have to know your audience always, and you have to be able to speak to what they need and want. You can't convince them that they need something just because you offer it.
No, that none of us have a budget big enough to convince anybody of anything.
Yeah. Excuse me. It is so true. Okay. So, talk to me some about this influencer marketing thing that seems to be all the rage. What is the impact of that on Gen Z?
Well, we have to look and see who they grew up with, and part of their viewing history has been Kardashians, and Kylie Jenner is an amazing story as far as a successful entrepreneur, and she's the epitome of the influencer. both as the social CEO who's running the company at some level, and then also as the primary spokesperson. And the concept that's challenging for most CEOs is just that they need to be the primary influencer and drive that content on a weekly basis. Because that's the primary way that this cohort gets information about what to buy, is through social and through friends and through people they know and respect from social media as influencers.
Okay, so wait a second. I want to make sure I understand this. So are you saying that the CEO has to become that person? They have to be out there telling their story so they become that trusted influencer? Or do they need to find people who are already influencers who can share their story?
Yes, both. The CEO, the social CEO as the primary brand influencer is a mandate now. It's either do it or perish. And then additionally, the marketing team or agency or any number of ways you can find influencers who have a lot of different options for either paying them or giving them product and having them do reviews, and then turning those reviews into additional content on behalf of the brand. But for most small businesses, really the most straightforward thing and the most important thing is for the CEO to be telling the stories, and that's success stories, that's stories about satisfied customers or problems that got solved for their customers, new staff people and what their staff is doing, as well as occasionally product announcements, and why those products were built. And it is literally 5 minutes worth of video every Monday morning. Needs to be the first work product that a CEO does, talking about something from the content calendar.
Interesting.
Great careers are forged out of great relationships. Your success, whatever your field, relies and thrives on the support and insights of others. I'm Andy Lapata, an author and speaker on the power of professional relationships. In the Connected Leadership podcast, I have the privilege of interviewing people from around the world to understand the relationships that have made a difference on their journey and how their insights can help you. From Nobel Prize winners to Olympians, from NASA astronauts to peace campaigners, my guests have shared some captivating moments from their lives and careers. Combined with experts from leading universities, cutting-edge authors and giants of business, the Connected Leadership podcast aims to inspire, educate and entertain.
Hi, I'm Christina Yerling Biro, host of the podcast Pop Culture Confidential. Join me as I go way behind the scenes with some of the most influential people in entertainment and media. Hear actors such as Succession's Brian Cox talk about his favorite characters to play.
There always has to be a mystery. The audience have to be in a situation where they want to know what's going on.
Meet studio execs like Pixar chief Pete Docter and learn his secret on how he makes us cry.
Emotion is our first language.
And so many others who are defining popular culture, from Obama speechwriter David Litt to Top Chef host Padma Lakshmi.
We don't often think about food politically, or we don't want to, but it really is.
Join me. Search for Pop Culture Confidential wherever you get your podcasts.
Boy, I would think a lot of small business owners would not want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, just like you don't want to write the check to the IRS every quarter. There's a lot of things we do that we don't like doing, right? And
it's a very good point.
Even me. So I'll just tell a quick story. I'm promoting the book that I'm writing, and I'm showing the content to my executive coach, and he's like, "Hey, time out here, dude. there's something missing. And I had built out all this content, and I had virtually no pictures of myself or any publicity about myself, because that's just not how I am. That's not how I was trained. So it's not second nature for me to be the smiling face. But so I understand the pain. I feel the pain of the change that has to happen.
Yeah.
And it's if you just categorize it in terms of, here's a work product I need to produce, here's my content calendar, and initially it's uncomfortable and has some edges on it, but after 5 or 6 times, it's just normal thing, and it's just part of the work week.
Yeah, it does get easier. That is for sure. Once you sort of lean into it, right? Yeah. So, what do you think the future looks like? The future of marketing for Gen Z, and if you can attach that to some advice for brands that really want to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that's always such a great question. There's so much it's so dynamic, and I just try to keep my finger on some actionable things. The biggest thing for this group, if you want to be relevant, is to create marketing experiences, right? They don't want to just buy products. They can do that on Amazon and eBay and anything else online, like they've been doing all their life. But they want to go in and what we used to call going out. They want experiences, but it has to be structured so that it's kind of all the entire experience is included, because one of their gaps is that sometimes they don't have a lot of intuition about how things happen out in the real world. So this idea that that you would have, if you're, let's say, a restaurant, that you would have a Taco Fest street fair, and then there would be a band and tequila tasting and breweries, and that you're creating bigger kind of experiences and events to engage them at the human to human interaction level. So that's one thing. As far as digital marketing, I think what we're seeing with the advent of these AI technologies is that there's going to be more and more and more and more content. The content's going to be multiplied by 10,000. And so the more that we can in our spaces curate and find valuable content, and then also produce authentic content, that will be a marginal utility and will set us apart in the marketplace.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I want to go back to this experience thing for a minute. Do you think that applies to like all different industries, or is it especially effective? Like, because you mentioned the restaurant, which I thought was a great example. But are there certain industries where you think that has a bigger impact, or does it not matter?
I don't think that it matters. I mean, sometimes it gets more complicated because it's B2B, or you're selling spray booths, or something that's sausage making. But if I just always go back when I'm talking to my clients, I say what we want to create is Burning Man, and we need to create a little bit of chaos and a lot of excitement, and an experience where they eventually get to touch the product and see what you're about. But that kind of flash and human connection and attention is a big craving.
That's really interesting. I mean, it really is different from previous generations and what they look for.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. And there's big issues with brain chemistry and then neurobiology, and they're going to have some challenges as time goes on because of the amount of screen time, and we know that that's not healthy.
Yeah.
And so there's there's some human interaction issues that this generation will be dealing with. That's kind of the mental health side as time goes on. But fortunately, that's not my area. Because that's too big of a problem for me.
Yeah, boy, I know, right? But it is interesting that they are such digital natives, and yet what I'm hearing is they still want an experience.
Well, they're still humans, right? It's that fundamental human interactions, and when you get into brain chemistry, it's like they've been pounding dopamine, which is one of the seven brain drugs that they need, and so they've got to figure out how to get these other six, and they don't really know how.
That's so interesting. And so, wow, yeah. Well, that's a whole other thing. I don't even want to try because it'll give me a headache. So it sounds to me like they need to, like small business owners need to think about who their target audiences are, and they're going to need different sorts of campaigns for different generations moving forward. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, continuing to look at all the buying process and the education process and making sure to digitize all of it. And this is another thing where I get pushback from my clients is, I can't digitize that. That has to be on paper. Well, no, actually that's not reality. So, you've got to get the whole process so that it can be done on a smartphone or on a laptop in order to keep the flow moving easily with this group specifically, but pretty much all of us now, just to be market standard.
Sure. Right. So we really have to let go of, I mean, it feels to me like one of the things that owners and leaders need to realize is, isn't Gen Z like the next biggest population or generation after the boomers?
Yeah, this is the biggest spending cohort in the United States now. And besides them, they influence household spending as well. So it's critical for all businesses to understand, even if they're, for instance, how home loans, they're just getting in to that age where they can, get out of college, get a job, have access to that part of living. But it's time now for anybody in that business to figure out how to make sure that it's all digital, easy, accessible, and that you've got a story that differentiates yourself from the competition.
And you were talking before about there's so many things that they don't really understand about how the world works. And so that sounds to me like a lot of these brands, like mortgage, insurance, whatever, realtors have a real opportunity to differentiate themselves if they're educating people, not in any sort of you don't know sort of way, but just really offering valuable information from and maybe, weaving their own personal stories into it. But that feels to me like that could be a really great marketing strategy.
Yeah. And as far as content marketing, it is one of the critical directions because it's a group that will self-educate. They're saying 75 to 80% of the time on anything that's new, they're going to go and self-educate via the web. So you've got to have some simplified processes. It's got to be video, and it's going to help to have some kind of non-traditional video around humor, fails, things that are entertaining also.
Right. Yeah, that's huge. That's really interesting. And does that live then on YouTube? Like, is that the best place for that to live? Should it live on their website? And like, where should it be based, I guess is my question.
Yeah, I mean, usually on those types of pieces of content, we'll set it up to be on as many different platforms as possible. So you shoot it once and then place it around. I mean, obviously YouTube is very powerful. Obviously, right now TikTok, if it doesn't get banned, is important. And then the permanent place still is the website where all this content really needs to go. Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about TikTok in the event that it does not get banned. There's a lot of buzz about what a great platform it is for businesses to be marketing, regardless of whether they're B2B or B2C. And I'm curious about what your viewpoint is on that.
Yeah, obviously it's got massive eyeballs right now. The reach is amazing, and the ads are well targeted. So it's a platform that's worth looking at. I mean, I do personally have concerns about the terms of service with TikTok, and that part of the legislation is what I agree with, and that once, as I understand it, that you bring TikTok onto your phone, then you've just released all devices that you own to be essentially scrubbed, searched by TikTok for data. So it's pretty overreaching in terms of intrusion.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So I use the ads. That's my preference. I don't have to have a TikTok account. So my team is targeting ads as the process, and that has been effective for us in reaching that college age demo. Yeah,
that's so interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. I think all I was hearing was do these, short videos, and it felt a little overwhelming to me. Just one more thing to do, which brings me to another question, which is it true that which platforms you use is really determined by your target markets and where they receive that sort of information?
Yeah, there's still age and gender banding for each platform. Absolutely.
Okay.
So, if you're going to reach the Gen X and boomers, you're going to be looking at Facebook and Instagram. Women are still the primary users of Pinterest. Young males are on Twitter, in the 20s are on Twitter. Yeah. And then, Snapchat and TikTok are the younger generations. Those are just the broad brush.
Right.
Of course, everybody's using every platform. And so it's particularly in the advertising. And that's why I like the ads, because you can be very specific for your age banding, and you can make sure that your content goes and seen by the right people.
Oh, that's interesting. All right. Well, thanks for that. That's helpful. And tell us about your book.
Yeah, so it's called Authenticity Marketing to Gen Z. And I go through a lot of what we talked about here in establishing the fact that it's the cohort that's got massive amount of spending power, so it's worth looking at. B, they're very ethical and triggered by ethical behavior. And so small business is in a perfect position to be able to access this cohort because of that, because 95% of the small businesses I know support the community that they're involved in. And they support a lot of organizations locally and nationally that are important to this group. So you have access to them through that type of messaging. And as long as you capture this idea of e-commerce and the social CEO, then we lay out some simple. I lay out some simple concepts to be able to follow and start the process of understanding this for your business.
Boy, this is such a huge topic, and I mean, so important for people to learn this, because we are so used to marketing in certain ways and just expecting everyone else to buy into it. And this just feels like a real big shift.
Yeah, it takes some attention to update some of the activities, marketing activities.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. But well worth it. I mean, that's what I'm hearing, is that it's you can't not.
Right. Yep. If you want to be in business in 5 years, you got to pay attention to it.
Right. Exactly. Wow, that is huge. Huge. Boy, Emanuel, I'm so glad that you joined me for this. I had no idea. I mean, I knew certain things about Gen Z, but I really had no idea the impact that they are having on how we market and grow our businesses.
Yeah, it's a fascinating transition, and we are definitely living in the age of transitioning.
Yeah, we sure are. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Will you tell the listeners how they can find you, how they can get the book, all that great stuff?
You bet. Very simple. EmanuelRose.com.
That is simple.
The book and my social connections are there, and happy to connect and answer any questions or problem solve what you got.
Wonderful. Boy, that, like I said, thank you so much for joining me. And
Thank you,
listeners,
Diane. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And listeners, thank you. You are who we're doing this for. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Accelerate Your Business Growth, a production of Evergreen Podcasts. Discover more episodes of this podcast and explore others at evergreenpodcast.com. As always, continue to prosper and be curious. And if you're looking to get your sales strategy headed in the right direction, pick up a copy of Succeed Without Selling on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Until we meet again on another episode of Accelerate Your Business Growth, goodbye and good day.
Hi, I'm Christina Yerling-Biro, host of the podcast Pop Culture Confidential. Join me as I go way behind the scenes with some of the most influential people in entertainment and media. Hear actors such as Succession's Brian Cox talk about his favorite characters to play.
There always has to be a mystery. The audience have to be in a situation where they want to know what's going on.
Meet studio execs like Pixar chief Pete Docter and learn his secret on how he makes us cry.
Emotion is our first language.
And so many others who are defining popular culture, from Obama speechwriter David Litt to Top Chef host Padma Lakshmi.
We don't often think about food politically, or we don't want to, but it really is.
Join me. Search for Pop Culture Confidential wherever you get your podcasts.